Tyrone game yesterday, Desi Farrell was pretty disappointed. But now, I don't know if he was more disappointed in just how poor Dublin were, because they really were, and how flat they were, but he seemed to be quite annoyed that they hadn't got themselves another game, because I think they play in another 3 or 4 weeks. They have a bit of a break, and it's, I can't remember who it is. It's Wicklow or Longford, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
So they were probably wouldn't have minded another game, at Croke Park against really good standard opposition. But I just feel like as you said, it was nearly like everybody. Whenever it was coming down the street yesterday, and obviously all Tyrone's eyes, like everybody who was in the press box in Oma, they were all looking at the other end of the table, like what are the results and how's that affecting, who's gone down here. And there was different points where Tyrone might have, been in with a shout of being saved. But like as soon as it happened, like when Donegal got within 3 points, you were just thinking like, and even with the penalty and all, like, everybody was laughing, going like, they're going to put this, in the stand here, like, because nobody, there's just that sense. And I do, like Jim McGuinness used the term earlier in the league, that it's been like it's devalued the competition. And I think, particularly in the split season, particularly with everything being so congested, it just feels like unnecessary. Really, it feels like a bit of an outlier in the middle there for no real reason. Because teams now, and you've seen it the last 2 or 3 weeks, teams are already, they're away. They're in championship mode completely. Like the end of the league was a bit of a wee bit of a farce in some ways.
Yeah, and do you know what? It's funny you mentioned that. I was just thinking yesterday, as Neil was saying there, Brendan. That maybe Darryl Boyle meant he missed that penalty, and then you've Hugh McFadden. Let's get the conspiracy going. Who hit the crossbar on purpose? He actually so talented. He was able to pay. He did the crossbar challenge, but I was just thinking about Tyrone in the mix there, Brendan. In many ways, of course, we played a second string team against Tyrone and still competed brilliantly in that game. But if we had beat Mayo yesterday, we almost would have single-handedly kept Tyrone up, and
absolutely,
we would have been great love between us going forward.
Yeah, I know what, it was disappointing. I thought the game out in the park was very flat. Out in O'Donnell Park was very flat the whole way through. But instantly, just when you're on about teams getting to National League finals, like I think Kerry would be happy enough to be in a final. They don't have any major pressure on them for the next few weeks, so they don't. And Jack O'Connor, every year he's won the All-Ireland, he's preceded it by winning a National League before, so he'll see that as some sort of step or some sort of omen to maybe move them on. So I think from their point of view, they'll be happy to be there. And we've seen some great Mayo Kerry tussles down through the year. Of course, Mayo are out the following week, the same day as Donegal are out against Sligo. They're home to Sligo. Sligo put up 32 points yesterday. Now I know it was against Leitrim, but Mayo will obviously go in as hot favourites to that, and I'm sure if there are any niggles or anything like that, they'll be resting them up for this Sunday to be getting ready for the Connacht Championship the following week, Brendan.
Yeah, and it was a tough enough season for Sligo, Brendan. Obviously a lot tougher for Leitrim, but certainly Sligo, there was a lot of things expected on the back of last year. And there's some decent sides in that Division 3. Neil's on about going down there. Down will be in a scrap there, Division 3 again next year, because their teams can put it up to you, right
big
across
time,
the board.
And I suppose Sligo's first game was against Offaly, the Mickey Hart enthused Offaly, and surprise. I think it was a bit of a surprise that Sligo were one of the favourites along with Kildare to go up from Division 3, but they lost that, and their next game then was against Kildare, and suddenly they were on the back foot, and they were it looked dodgy for them there for a while, but they got 7 points from the last 4 games. Probably should have been 8. They were well up against Fermanagh, and Fermanagh came back with 7 or 8 points later on. But ended up they'll go into the Mayo game with a wee bit of confidence after knocking up them few wins, so they will,
Yeah. And Neil, your Brendan's on about their Jack O'Connor and possible league finals. Do you think that, I'm trying to think about Kerry and Mayo, what I've seen of them, the way Kerry move the ball and the way they can be devastating in the forward line, I just look at Mayo and think Kerry could potentially take this Mayo team apart next week. Now, here's the thing about Mayo, and it just happens all the time. I mean, the start of the year we were in smaller fish. I tipped Derry and Mayo to go down. I was nearly right at one point yesterday, and then they're in the league, but they're in the league final. But they looked kind of, and John Casey's coming on later. It'll be interesting to see his point of view on it. Sometimes they look very ordinary as a team, big, physical, strong team, maybe lacking that wee bit of craft, which Donegal seemed to have in spades, and that was without quite a few of our, maybe 5 or 6 of our possible starting players not on the team. Like, would you think, from what you've seen of it, Neil, that the way Kerry are starting to shape up in the new rules, that it'll be fascinating to see, I suppose, the game at Croke Park, because we've only seen teams play Dublin at Croke Park so far for the new rules. You know, really. So to see this Kerry team and a Mayo team that basically goes man for man at times, it could be a serious shootout. I mean, you think of shootouts, there's much more shooters in the Kerry side.
There definitely is. Like, I mean, I was at the Mayo game against Armagh maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, and like in that first half, Armagh could have been so far out of sight. I think I can't remember off the top. I think they might have been 10 up at halftime, but it possibly could have been 20 or something. You know, like and that's kind of the way Mayo will play you. And then the second half, they came out, really pushed up hard on Armagh, and looked $1 million. You know, and so it's kind of probably emblematic of just the way Mayo have been a wee bit under Kevin McStay. Like, because if you think even back to the kind of fairly chaotic first couple of weeks of the league, like the Galway game, like when people were asking, you know, there was questions about whether they even knew the new rules and stuff, you know, because they looked all at sea, and then you just see these wee glimpses as they're going along, and you know, signs of what makes people, you know, never quite like rule Mayo out. But as you said, Kerry, the last couple of weeks, they just look devastating at the minute, and I think that of everybody, in terms of the way that they've found and started to adapt to the new rules and really utilize them, you really make, and obviously we know the forward power that Kerry have, but in terms of actually really making that pay, because goals, like, it's a funny thing, Brendan, like, I don't know if you have noticed this as well, but in the advent of the 2 point, the score from outside the arc, like in the games that I'm seeing, like there's not a lot of goals. Like I think you're seeing a bit of a combination of sometimes players refusing a single point to recycle and come back outside the arc to, you know, maybe try and get a teammate onto a 2 point shot. But this is where I wonder, did we make a bit of a mistake by not going with the 4 points for a goal? Because I just feel like the incentive for that has maybe been, for a goal, has maybe been devalued slightly. And Kerry aside, and Armagh yesterday, we're not seeing teams really, you know, showing that ambition maybe. But no, as you say, like when it comes to this weekend against, you know, at Croke Park, in the wide open spaces of Croke Park, like Kerry can do real damage there. There's no question.
Yeah, I agree with you, Neil. I'm just thinking, like the amount of 2 pointers. Some games, I think, we seem with the breeze, they seem to be pretty easy, and then, you know, we had the issue with long range place ball kicking, that it seemed a bit easy. But I still think the goal is a huge score, because by and large most are still points. So it is a massive score, and it is something that really lifts the team. 4, what do you think, Brendan? Initially I thought 4 definitely, and then what I've seen there's the last couple of games I've seen, there haven't been a lot of 2-pointers in it. And would the goal have been too much at 4 then? What's your feeling?
I'm still not sold on the 2-pointer.
Yeah,
definitely from free kicks, obviously, but I'm not sold on the 2-pointer, because I think it devalues the 1.2 and the goal, so it does. And what Neil referenced it there, like teams are going in maybe into the scoring zone and coming back out then to try and create the 2-pointer, and we're not seeing an awful lot of them. And like, so you take Donegal game yesterday, some of the best scores Donegal got were really, really well worked scores. You take Luke McGlynn's score in the first half, you take Niall O'Donnell's really well worked scores, creating space with inside, and then you see Ryan O'Donoghue kicking a point over from the top of the new arc kind of thing, and he gets 2 for that. And I'm just not sure that it equates correctly, that the whole thing is balanced right. And I don't know, I don't think 4 point is the right thing for that either. And, you know, like on a separate subject, Donegal haven't been scoring an awful lot of goals. Now, they did get a brilliant goal yesterday, and perhaps Finbar Rorty could have had another one after. Of course, Huey hit the crossbar and Dara, so they did create chances yesterday, but they created very few goal chances early on in the league, if I recall, Brendan. And, you know, is it disincentive, and is that as a result of the 2-pointer? Because if you get them 2 points, we saw Darragh Boyle kick a couple of bombs throughout the league and that, but don't know if we're seeing enough of them to incentivise it, and I'm not totally sold on the 2-pointer in general.
Yeah. And, you know, and we'll talk about more into Donegal now, and the amount of opportunities have. Neil, would you think, you know, as a neutral looking in at us, the way we work the ball through the hand, does that mean that we cut down, as Brendan was saying, goal opportunities? Because say by the time we've worked it up, the other team is probably defensively set, and then you're looking to break the lines, which you're really good at, but that means that you're just inside the arc then, and that's why we've scored so many points, but they've by and large been 1-pointers.
Well, I mean, I don't think it's any coincidence that the two teams who will kick the ball in Kerry and Armagh, you know, or will move the ball very quickly at pace, they're the teams that, you know, yesterday are you know, scoring scoring goals. I do think there is a point in that, Brendan, and I even see it with Down, to be honest with you, this year, because Down would be similar under Conor Laverty, would have played very much through the hands and that sort of Kilcoo style. And in his first 2 years, like Down scored, I think, 10 goals and 13 goals in their league campaigns. And this year they scored 5, and I wonder, is it a similar thing with Donegal, where maybe teams are just getting that bit more, um, there's just not the same push, and you really need to be moving the ball fast, expose that space that's there now with the three, and maybe Donegal aren't equipped for that necessarily. That said, like, the first night that I saw Donegal this year against Dublin in Ballybuffet, I remember coming away from, like, even though they won, I remember thinking, geez, I don't know if Donegal might find this a bit hard going. They're so wedded to the passing through the hands and stuff, and it's so kind of deliberate and potentially slow at times. How's this going to work out? But to be fair, I think they have started to find a bit of a balance as the league went on. Certainly to the point in the league where they wanted to get to, where they were safe and could manage their business from there. But I do think in terms of the goals, as I say, I definitely see it with Down, and Donegal wouldn't be set up wildly different in some ways. And I think it's a bit of an issue for those teams that do rely on moving the ball so quickly through the hands, because goals there's just not the same opportunities. And then especially if you're a Donegal, where you're blessed with so many guys from who can kick scores from distance, then it makes sense. You're going to try and get all the Kieran Thompson, McBurda, whoever it may be, all those guys on the ball outside the arc and capitalise from there. That's kind of what I mean a wee bit about the disincentivization of the goal slightly, because of the 2-pointer.
Yeah, I'm just thinking back to last year's championship, and I think it wasn't until Louth and then Clare and Louth, whatever it went, came around that we got any goals,
Yeah.
And it certainly was a hamper last year. And I was just thinking about the way we break, the pace that we break out on the counter attack's phenomenal. But when you think about it, then we usually get an overload where a guy's coming in, but there's someone back in the full back line obviously now, so the score's on. It's a simple tap over score. So really, not a wild opportunities. I think yesterday it was just the sheer bit of skill from our players that was playing. In terms of dropping the shoulder, getting the hand pass in, it was quite easy now. I think from our own point of view to get in for those late goal opportunities, but we're not seeing an awful lot of them. There was a few like half ones we're creating, but by and large, because we work it through the hands, we're operating around. So say if we do get in behind, there should be a screen there, so we end up getting a wee handy maybe 20-25 yard point, but the goal's kind of locked out.
Yeah, and the other teams have that opportunity maybe to get the bodies back and to get set up, as you mentioned, Brendan. And obviously it's easier to defend the goals yesterday. And now Donegal did get inside them on them a couple of occasions last year. But I suppose too, Brendan, in reality, you're looking at, Oisín Gallen hasn't been there the last couple of days, so he hasn't. Patrick has carried an injury. Michael, played against Tyrone. But the team hasn't come together as we would imagine that they would have, kind of. So it'll be interesting to see how that kind of dynamic works now from the point of view of getting minutes into the legs of a lot of these players. And it's going to be crucial as the championship progresses to make sure that you have a 26, 27 guys that are able to come in and you trust them to come in and do the job. I think it's worked out exceptionally well for Jim and Donegal in that respect, to be able to get them minutes into the legs of them guys over the last couple of weeks. We saw Stephen McMenamin do a good job maybe on Aidan O'Shea yesterday, I thought, and like some Mark Kern, Finbar Rorty, all these guys are getting minutes into the legs, so they are, and that's certainly going to stand. Donegal said so it is, but as regards creating a goal chance, it is a worry. But we went into last year's championship in Celtic Park, Brendan, and we hadn't really been setting up or creating that many goal scoring opportunities, and suddenly it was like the Red Sea just opened up, so it in front of them. Was it 4 or 5 goals that banged in 4
sorry,
goals?
I forgot about those 4.
Yeah, and it was a crazy game, so it was, but it was right. It was a great day.
It seems a long time ago now.
It seems a long time ago. Yeah.
You're laughing away there, Neil. Just looking at our team, versus we mentioned Kerry there. Look at the game Paul Guinea had yesterday. Dylan Guinea's a player. Obviously Paddy Clifford, David, of course. I thought Johnny McGrath, obviously, I think he's one of the best man markers in Ireland. He marked David really well. I used to Sean O'Shea still to come back into that. So you're looking at it. The big games, Neil, down the tracks. It's going to be about firepower. The firepower was always important, but while teams could go locked down, and we think about All Ireland final last year, it wasn't about out and out. But the firepower is getting the room now. So with us yesterday in particular, I suppose even from the back out, Patton and Owen Ban and Mogan, these guys, you've Murphy, Gallen, Jamie Brennan, McBurdy, they come in. Like Donegal have plenty of firepower, just depending on how they play it. Neil, you would imagine it'll be very much Ulster first, but the game has to change then as it goes on into the championship.
Aye, but it's funny. It was something I was actually thinking about the last few days. Is whether the Ulster teams, or some of them are maybe. And it's easy to get carried away with things when you see the likes of the way Kerry are going at the minute and stuff. But you really do get the sense that in terms of utilising the rules for what they are and getting the best out of them, that the firepower, especially once the good weather comes in, once we're not getting these mad kind of swing games all the time, the firepower is gonna. That's what the rules are devised for. You know what I mean? That's what they're trying to bring in. So it stands to reason that why a David Clifford would be licking his lips. And I just wonder with the Ulster teams, possibly with the exception of Armagh, whether they're ready for there's a bit of tweaking and a bit of tinkering that's going to need to be done for quite a few of the Ulster teams, I think, to get that stage. Because even watching Tyrone yesterday, and they had a massive wind at their back in the first half, I think they kicked it twice, you've Darren McCurry there and Derek Hanavan, and when they were linking up, it was class, brilliant, their movement and everything. But there's just this natural sort of reluctance still. It's hard to break the habits of a lifetime, I get that, and it's certainly for a lot of those. You remember speaking to Matty Donnelly in the first weeks of the season, he says, you're asking boys to wash out, years and years of coaching, and that is the reality, and it's certainly the reality in Ulster. So I think that's the problem that's maybe there. Whereas that style is maybe, even though Kerry, the likes of Kerry, for example, have obviously, changed and to suit the game over the years, and they've had like Paddy Talley in there the last couple of years, but that's their natural, that's their default is, kick and get the ball, move the ball fast and leave it up to the guys up top. I think a lot of the Ulster counties maybe aren't, they're not really. There's a bit more work that needs to be done, and a bit of getting stuff out of the system from years gone by before they really get the best out of the rules.
Yes, indeed. And Bren, yesterday it was a strange enough first half, but it was a bit dead. First 10 we controlled the game by and large, and it was 176 at half time, and there was more scores in the first 15 of the second half than there was in the first half. It just, these games seem to explode into life then. There's so much opportunity to score if you go after it. There was a lot of keep ball in that first half. It was a bit stale. Took a while for the crowd to get into it now, but there was some decent performances. And you look, even like Hugh McFadden, the ability to win ball around midfield is so vital now. And Donegal missing a few of the main men. Of course, Jason McGee's another man in there that we haven't heard anything from, Ben, and whether he's going to come back or not. At this stage, it's obviously it's certainly unlikely for Derry, but whether he's anywhere near not having him there. Kieran Thompson come out and won a couple of balls, and the kick out there strategy, when you have to go long, you need the big man. Langan come in, kicked a couple of points with the man. Class, he's got that height and ability to win ball. So those type of, that's why Michael's introduction was so vital in the games that he came in. So for Donegal now to build that squad together, they certainly have what it takes to take any team out, but injuries and fitness is the one. We seen Michael last day. A wee bit of a twinge, obviously he was just rested for this, but I mean Jason McGee, if we need to win that primary possession, he is our key man out there, and it'll be hard for us, Brendan, against a big physical side who makes us go long to really win a lot of ball without him in there. Like, he is a key man.
Yeah, and we're seeing periods of games where teams get on top and they pen another team in on their own kick out, and kick outs are going to be huge there. And in that respect, Donegal are pretty lucky in that they have the kick out maestro Sean Patton that can bomb it over the top. he can still pick out a man with a zinger 60 yards away, so he can. So he has huge tools in his locker. And Donegal, like if you go through it, they've developed these man markers throughout the league. So there's the likes of Mark Kern, Fimber Rorty, these guys. So they have, that Brendan McCall, obviously, that are well able to man mark. But there's the big men around the middle of the field, and when we didn't have them maybe yesterday, we struggled a wee bit, so we did. And, but if you've Michael Langan, you get Jason back fit. I hear he was on a bike down in sauna down the town, so he was kind of pushing it out. So did obviously Murphy, Big Huey, Dara Boyle was well able to win his own ball in them areas, and you've plenty of players, you have plenty of size and physicality there, and obviously we know the scoring threat that if boys are kept fit. So you would think, and I totally get what Neil is saying in relation to Kerry and the kicking game, but Donegal have that ability within their locker too, so they have, if they can develop it over the next, obviously through the Ulster Championship and when they go on then further, they have all them, like been able to pen a team in, and you're seeing it in games where teams are struggling. You can get 1 score, 2, 3, 4 scores, and suddenly there's a big swing in the game. So there is, and I've seen a lot of games go like that, and I think Donegal will focus on that kind of area during the league, that they have the big men that they can push back on opposition kickouts, but they also have Sean Patton as their own kind of major artillery that he can get kickouts away for them too.
Yeah, perfect. Mate, listen, just before we let you go there, well, not Donegal Derry. Listen, I know what you're going to tell me about that. What about the whole thing, the Ulster? Anyway, we'll not go past that for now because Jim McGuinness will not forgive us. So it's Ulster, Ulster only. What's your tip in there?
I mean, I have to go for Donegal, I'm afraid.
Boy.
I definitely have fancied Donegal from the start of the year. Sort of fancied them for the whole heap, to be honest with you. I don't want to put the scud on you, because I wouldn't have a great track record.
No, you tell us that after.
Who has?
but no, that would be my gut feeling, like the way Ulster's shaping up and stuff, and it's a great way for Donegal to start. Although the genie's out of the bottle a wee bit, like after last year, so the shock and awe that we all kind of felt in Celtic Park that night 12 months ago or whatever it was, it's a different challenge for Donegal this year, but I just think they look the real deal.
Yeah, good man yourself. Neil Loughlin, Navish News, as ever. Thanks for your input. We'll be back with more GA after this break.
The DL Debate with Sister Sarah's Letterkenny, serving food you'll love till 9 p.m. daily in Sarah's Kitchen. And there's free admission entertainment every weekend.
To destination for all things home appliances, electrical and entertainment in the Northwest. With over 50 years of leading the way, we pride ourselves on offering a diverse range of products under one roof. From top brands like LG, Samsung, Cooker, Bosch, Apple and more, take advantage of our free layaway service where you can store your new items until you're ready for them. Perfect for renovations and new build projects. Visit Irwin Expert Electrical today in Letterkenny or Buncrana.
Shower, teeth, clothes, coffee, keys, car, drive, work. Shower, teeth, clothes, coffee, keys, car, drive, work. Shower, teeth, clothes, coffee, keys, car, drive, truck! You never know what's coming. Slow down on rural roads. A message from the Road Safety Authority. Visit rsa.ie.
Celebrate Mum this Mother's Day with something special from Dunnes Stores. Pick up an indulgent box of her favourite chocolates, like Nestle Dairy Box or Black Magic, now half price. Or choose from a selection of fresh flower arrangements and bouquets available in-store from the 27th of March. Plus, you can save at the till with a 5 off 25 grocery voucher. Dunnes Stores, always better value. Terms and conditions apply. Voucher can be used on next in-store grocery shop of €25 or more. Discover the magic of Malta with Aer Lingus. For an unforgettable blend of culture and breathtaking landscapes, Malta is the perfect place to explore, and our flights are the perfect way to get there. Plus, bring a 10 kg checked bag with you. Book your trip today at aerlingus.com. Aer Lingus, you're very welcome.
The DL Debate with Sister Sarah's Letterkenny, serving food you'll love till 9 p.m. daily in Sarah's Kitchen. And there's free admission entertainment every weekend.
Yes, folks, welcome back. Now we're going to turn our attention to Donegal ladies, who had a good victory over Tipperary at the weekend, guaranteeing their Division 2 status after the match. Maureen O'Donnell caught up with Susie White.
Susie, it's great to get another one under the belt, and it comes at a great time, and you secured Division 2 status for next year.
Yeah, we're delighted. We had a slow start to the league. I suppose we had a new management in. We were probably a month or two behind every other team, but we've dug deep today, and I think we finished the end of the league strong, and this result today means a lot to us, and as you said, it's saved us. So.
Yeah, and you went in 4 points each at half time, and you would have been happy with that considering the fact that they had the breeze.
Yeah, they have some big shooters as well. They had Ashley Maloney and Emma Morrissey, so I suppose our tactic in the first half was to keep them at bay for as long as we could, and we're definitely happy coming in at half time, but we've probably been in a situation before where we've gone in at half time and let a few things slip, so I think it's a massive achievement for us to have played that second half, stayed in the game, and not fallen asleep at any time, and just so proud of the girls. And there's girls who made Donegal debuts today. Ulita Boyle came on, Ashton O'Neill came on, they made a massive impact, and that's really what it's about too.
Yeah, it's great to see players like that coming in and making that impact. Like, as you say, Ashton O'Neill got a great score at a very vital time in the game. Susie?
Yeah, like Aisling had been injured and she's only back into the squad now, and she's made her impact, and I'm delighted for her. You had Mia Bennett as well, who was her second game starting for Donegal, and she took a massive score today. And just from my point of view, I suppose, like, I've been in the team a few years now, and to see these girls transition in and to see all the work that we've been doing over the last few months pay off, it's massive. And just would use the word pride, and just well deserved for them girls too. They bide their time the last few months, and they deserve to get the recognition they did today.
Yeah, and you yourself got 6 points on the board out there today, and look, covered a great deal of ground. At most of the time, you were back defensively on the edge of the D. Was this a strategy that James took in, and like you saw, was the plan to go defensive today?
I think, as I said, like, they had a lot of big shooters, and we were very much aware of that. So we had to consider that in our preparation. I suppose I had a new role today in the last maybe game or so, was to kind of drop back and come around on the edge of the ball or at the end of the play, and I suppose it worked in our favour today. But I think the girls even up front worked very hard today. Sometimes it's not noticed, they slow down the play and stuff, but look, we knew that we had to be mindful at different times, and I think possibly in the first half we played it a wee bit safer. I think in the second half we really pressed up in their kickouts. I think we got 2 scores off their kickouts, and when we did put pressure on, it definitely worked. So in terms of the game plan, I think it worked well today, but there was a lot of discipline there too, and just every girl stepped up and didn't fall asleep.
Yeah, well done to Donegal ladies there. James Daly's team there, as I say, consolidating their Division 2 status. Last game away, they're playing Cork in Ballyshannon. After Donegal hurlers defeat, they're dropping down out of Division 2. Highlights, of course, beating Kerry, a massive win for Donegal, and beating Tyrone as well. But it was a winner-takes-all game against Derry, but Donegal well beaten on the day. Chris Ashmore caught up with Mickey McCann after the game.
Mickey McCann, well, obviously disappointment. You just weren't at the races today.
Nowhere near, Chris, and so disappointing. The game was gone for us at half time, and we started really poorly. Now, I did say before that Derry play at higher standard, and if we're off in work rate, we're in bother, and Derry actually outworked us. And look, disappointing. Forwards never really turned up today at all, and we struggled inside. Derry just looked that level above us. I don't think we're as bad as we showed today, but very, very disappointed. We prepared well. Training's been going good, and I just think the boys, it was a big game for us, and the pressure maybe got this. So very disappointing. So, and it's going to be hard to regroup from that.
Yeah. So they got 3 early points. You had a few wides early on, but even by sort of the midpoint of the first half, you were sort of catching shadows at times.
We were. We had 2 or 3 chances to start, maybe to keep it 1 each, 2 each, and 3 each. We had the chances at that level and at that time, and we didn't take them. And then suddenly you're 6-0 down. Even you've got to take our chances when we get them, and we didn't. But look, we lost nearly every zone on the pitch out there. And we felt Steve McBride done well when he went back in on Cahill Murray, and Gavin Brown done well when he came into the game. Oisin was tight enough in the full back line, but around the middle sector they had a lot of long range points. I think the midfielders, one of the midfielders may have had 4 or 5 points in play. So completely outworked, and they looked a level above us. Very disappointing. We thought we were a lot closer. We knew what we were coming up against, and the physical side of things too. We seem to lose a lot of the 50-50 balls and just not good enough, on the day.
Indeed, it was a tough day at the office for the Donegal hurlers. Of course, playing Derry in the Christy Ring now in April, 12th and 13th of April. Donegal's going to have to pull it together. Listen, many times before, Donegal hurling has faced an uphill battle, but under Mickey McCann's stewardship, they have pulled out serious results, and they'll go on, and as he said there, being outworked, I think is a big, huge thing with them. He says they're well prepared, and I have no doubt in Mickey McCann's teams always are. So listen, we wish them well going into the Christy Ring, which would be a tough assignment for Donegal, but I'm sure they'll give it their all. Listen, folks, just come back to football again, and we have a Mayo man on the line to give us the lowdown. John Casey is there. John, how are you, sir?
Good, Brendan, thank you.
John, thanks for joining us, sir. You're juggling many things there today, as ever.
Yeah, look at here, busy household here with 3 very active kids playing basketball, athletics, doing athletics and playing football. So yeah, I'm hopping around the place. But
we have a neighbour.
Anytime.
We have a neighbour of yours here actually. He's singing your praises here, Brendan Kilcoyne from up the road.
Very good, man. He's the battle I had with him when he was wearing the black and white of Sligo. But I noticed he's got a strong Donegal accent now, whatever you done to him up there.
Oh yeah, he's converted.
How's it going there, Cove?
Hey, Brent, how's it going?
Not too bad, John, not too bad.
Good.
Listen, he would have given you an odd dig back in the day, John, no doubt.
Yeah, look, it was more him digging me, Brendan, the way it went on back then. When you got away with a lot more back then as well, so needless to say, if there was black and yellow cards, Brendan Kilcoyne was certainly have got a few. All right.
You were a bit too quick for me to catch you to get a dig, John. That was the problem.
John, listen, I was just, the history of Donegal and Mayo. I hate to bring up 2012, but really, let's start there.
Well, why did you, Brendan?
Because it's part of my point. My apologies, John. But since then, I think 2016 is the only game we've actually beaten Mayo. I think there might have been a draw in there as well. But got into the game, there was needs on your side that wasn't on ours, John. But quite a strange game. I was just saying previous, poor enough half time, 6-1-7 in terms of scoring. It did catch fire then second half with a good bit of end-to-end football. But what's the feeling in Mayo coming out of it, John? The fact that obviously from the opening 2 games...
It was a crazy game. I found myself in Cavan yesterday for the Division 2 game between Cork and Cavan. Yeah. And I literally got in the door here to Charlestown yesterday just as Darrow Boyle was stepping up to take the penalty. So I couldn't believe what was unfolding in front of me. And then to hear that Mayo were in relegation trouble a few minutes beforehand, and then all of a sudden they're on top of the league. I'm going, what sort of a crazy setup? I don't think anything like that could ever happen again. 9 points, winning or finishing top of the league with a score difference of -1 is just about as crazy as it gets, really. So the feeling down here is probably one of a little bit of concern. Not concern at obviously winning or finishing top of the league, but we need a performance next week. So I'll come on this show next Monday and talk to you and tell you how I feel about it at 6 o'clock next Sunday to see what happens after we play Kerry, because I think the last thing that we need is to go up and Kerry have kind of turned the corner. But I know you want to be testing yourselves against the better teams in headquarters, but we won the league 2 years ago, Brendan, and 6 days later we got turned over by Roscommon, and it was a little bit deflating at the time, and we were wondering, why do we want to? We've got to get this balance right. We've got to get its championship. I had a good few people in my shop last week, and I just, for the curiosity, I said to him, can you tell me who won the National League in 2024? A couple of lads, reps from Donegal actually, and they couldn't tell me. So that's the importance of the league. And even though the league final last year between Derry and Dublin was probably one of the best games of the year, so that's kind of where we're at. We're happy that we're not relegated, clearly, but I'm not sure about going to play Kerry in headquarters next Sunday. The only positive, and I'm saying this, I know Brendan Kilcoyne is standing there beside you, is we're on a good side of the draw this time in Connacht, and we can hopefully ease our way into it. And I know that's not being disrespectful to Sligo or Leitrim, but I'm just saying we're at a level where, if we were going out playing against Roscommon or Galway the week after the league final, I wouldn't want us to be in a league final.
You want to respond to that, Brendan?
Sligo put up 32 points yesterday, John.
Oh, here we go, 32 points. You better watch.
No, listen, I agree with John in that respect. It's to stay away from the Galway and the Roscommon in particular for Mayo would be a big thing. And And with the game also in McHale Park, it's obviously a big in Mayo favour. And I suppose the thing for Mayo is, you've Paddy Durcan, Tommy Conroy and Jamer O'Connor to come back into that team. And I'm wondering, John, is there any knowledge of where they're at in their rehab?
That's a really good question, Brendan. I actually don't know the answer to that. I know Jamer O'Connor is definitely very close, but yeah, Paddy Durcan and Tommy Conroy, you nearly forget, with the turnover of players now and the amount of players at your disposal, you nearly forget people are even involved in panels. So to answer your question, I haven't a clue if they're up there. I expect Jeremy O'Connor. I was talking to Jeremy O'Connor's brother, not Killian, by the way, Porrick, and he was saying that he's not far away at all. So they're kind of all players that are, a must, but there's no point in rushing them fellas back. But, there's just another point. But I'm sure you guys in Donegal are absolutely delighted Donegal are not in a league final, because you're dealing with the bear pit that is the Ulster Championship, and the game against Derry. I know Derry looked all over the place yesterday and have done, but they can never be taken with the quality of players they have. They can never be taken as a given, and I think that's a probably perfect scenario although I'm going to contradict myself slightly here. Donegal didn't look like they cared about being in a league final. If Darragh O'Bwill's penalty went in and Hugh McFadden nearly broke the crossbar shortly afterwards, I think, were we relegated and Donegal were in the final? It was the craziest finish to a league, and even then Tyrone getting relegated on 7 points is just uncanny stuff, really.
Is that, John, what we love about the league now at this point, though? Because there's no... Listen, outside of the pressure of maybe getting relegated, and even at that, I think any of the top teams that not accidentally, but if you think Tyrone will come back up next year. There's no doubt in that. Now,
100%.
you might think, does it affect a bit? But really, if you're a team that knows what you're about, you can maybe time your run into the championship. So I think the top teams, if you end up going down, we've seen them, they've all basically come up if you are a top side. So there is that bit of a danger. But outside that, there seems to be a bit of a carefree attitude. And as you're mentioning there, going down the tracks. And I think in many ways, your game's going to end up being a shootout with Kerry next week, which is very dangerous for Mayo, I think, because of the way Kerry are shooting. And you mentioned those players, of course, to come back for yourselves. Kearney had a brilliant first half yesterday. Irwin looks like a player. Is he a midfielder, that guy, normally?
Midfielder for Ballina. He's actually a son of Gabriel Irwin, the all-star goalkeeper from 1989, believe it or not.
There you go.
That's right,
So
obviously
Gabriel Irwin...
O'Donoghue is O'Donoghue, and, you're on it a couple of good
O'Donoghue was
moments.
playing some stuff. I'll tell you who's playing very well for us as well. Matty Ruan is playing exceptional stuff. He's scoring heavy, and he seems to have found his mojo back a little bit. He suffered after the 2021 All-Ireland a little bit for form and stuff, but he seems to be playing. I'm not sure, did any of you guys see the end of the game I was at in Cavan yesterday, where Cavan, if they ended up scoring an equaliser, they didn't. I don't think they realised Darragh McVitie. The new rule that with the hooter going, that the ball had to go dead. He panicked and he took a ridiculous shot from about 50 metres, because he probably saw the clock hitting 69, 57 seconds, and he ended up letting fly when he didn't realise he could have worked the ball into a better position. And had he kicked it over the bar, it went narrowly wide, I have to say, but had he kicked it over the bar, Cavan would have been promoted. And it was crazy. But for me, it was a classic case of these new rules got tweaked with 2 rounds to go in the league, and it looked like he clearly did not know that he got to play the ball for as long as he wanted after the hooter until it went dead. So anyway, just a bit of a crazy situation.
The Hooters won now, Brendan. The last play is the key there, really.
Yeah, it was. And I saw Donoghue yesterday even did a bit of trickery with his last free two-sided. He was he asked the ref to mark it. There was seconds left, and as soon as he went to kick it, then he kicked it out over the line. But he was just playing smart, playing to the rules, and But I agree with you, John. Matty Rowan with that Charlestown connection obviously is having a great year for Mayo in the middle of the park. He's just a powerhouse and coming in with scores on a regular basis. So he's playing really well.
Yeah, I haven't forgiven his mother for moving to Brafey.
Let's just stop you there a quick second. We're going to hear a couple of words just from Jim McGuinness, who caught up with Oisin after the game yesterday.
So Jim, 2-point defeat today. How do you sum that one up? What do you make of it?
It was I suppose hot and heavy would be the way to sum it up. We had, I suppose, we had a couple of chances to win the game there, the penalty and Huey's one off the crossbar. First half took us a while to get going, to be honest with you. Mayo came with a lot of aggression and a high press and asked questions of us, but very, very happy with the way they responded in the second half. I think we got 18 shots away, they got 11, and they had the breeze, and we kicked 110 from those 18 shots, which was very good pegging, and then obviously we had those 2 opportunities as well that I spoke about, so couldn't have asked any more in that regard, yeah, we'll focus now on the championship.
You're on the changes at the break. One of them was Michael Langan. He came back in and he looked very fresh, kicked 2 scores there and was involved in a lot.
No, definitely. Keelan McGonigal had to come out. He just got a bang there before half time, so unfortunately that was forced. But Michael came in, kicked 2 good scores. Aaron Doherty as well went on, kicked 2 good scores, as well. So yeah, no, a lot of positives on that front as well. And I suppose this game and the last game we've managed to look at other players that are in and around the squad, and try to target certain games for certain people. See, McManaman came in today, done a really good job. So yeah, all of that, it's hopefully has put us in a better position from a squad point of view for facing it to the championship now.
Yeah, that was Jim McGuinness chatting to Oisin Kelly yesterday. John, is that a bit of a blessed position for Donegal, the fact that Jim can play certain players and is allowed to use a squad in those last couple of games heading in to what is going to be a hot and heavy Ulster Championship?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, there's nobody that can really argue with anything Jim McGuinness does, He seems to have everything kind of going the way he wants it to go. But, it's funny. We wondered, and it's another thing with the new rules. I don't know how many, because I didn't see the whole game, how many 2-pointers were scored yesterday by either team. But I know Kerry have hit, 545 in their last 2 games and not got any 2-pointers, which is remarkable, really. But McGuinness has that ability to, he done the hard running early on, and it's a manager's absolute entitlement to do whatever they want. They can disrespect the competition, but I think normally there's mind games and there's a lot of nonsense and talking behind the scenes. Oh, we'll put a brave face here on, we'll say this and that. But at least McGuinness came out and said, we don't want to be in a league final. We are concentrating on Derry, Ulster Championship, and he could do what he wants. And I mean, he's been able to swap players in and out, getting a few players back. And he, of course, Michael Murphy's return. I mean, the game was it against Tyrone or was it against Derry? He made his comeback.
Yeah.
It was just remarkable to see him.
And we were under pressure, John, in that game. So a lot of people's writing off Derry now, and I'm thinking, well, they were 8 points up halfway through that second half.
You can't write Derry off. You write Derry off at your peril.
That's it. They're going to be dangerous. Brendan, what are you saying? The Antrim game's confirmed.
Yeah, there seems to be a bit of confirmation coming through this afternoon that the Antrim game, Antrim Armagh Championship game, is going to go ahead in Corrigan Park.
Yeah. Well, that's it. Player power. The will, it's not their fault. That's their home ground. There's been a lot of faults made.
I just heard the reasoning. The debate on that was the fact that it's a 4,000 capacity stadium, Corrigan Park, and Armagh have 3,500 season ticket holders alone entitled to a ticket. So there's going to be 0 tickets available to be dispersed among the clubs. That's what I just heard.
I don't think that'll bother Antrim too much. And at the end of the day, John, has been some failure of the GA, because casements had never been closed until they were guaranteed that something was going to happen. And then between times, while it wasn't happening, they should have built up a ground like Corrigan or even Dunsilley or wherever and made it into a decent ground. The GA should have funded a decent second ground to back it up. I think that's where the failures is, lads. We're down to the last 30 seconds here, and right, Joe Deck's giving me a shout. John, thanks for joining us this evening. We'll catch up as the season goes on, my man, because I know you'll be out and about all over the place.
Man, John.
Guys.
Top man, John Casey. Brendan Kilcoyne, thank you for joining us.
Good to be here,
this evening here on the show, as well as Neil Lovren and everyone. And put it, Joe Dex. Appreciate it. Speak to you all next week.
Check this.
Of course, the Monday night sessions. Paul, get in here. You have a job to do. Monday night sessions coming on, folks. How can I forget
This is an important message for all drivers. From March 31st, the law is changing. When you renew or take out motor insurance, you'll need to provide your driver number. It's on your driving licence, listed under point 4D, so make sure you have it to hand. Without your driver number, you won't get insured. Double check that you have your licence, and if you can't find it, take steps to have a valid licence in time for your insurance renewal date. This message is brought to you by Insurance Ireland and the Motor Insurers Bureau of Ireland in support of a Government of Ireland initiative.
Welcome to Cherrymore Kitchens and Bedrooms in Donegal Town. Discover affordable luxury with their bespoke fitted furniture solutions. With almost 30 years of serving Ireland and the North West, we're your trusted experts. Visit us Monday to Friday 9 a.m. until 5 p.m. and on Saturdays from 9 a.m. until 3:30 p.m. Book your free consultation today on 074
The DL debate with Sister Sara's Letterkenny.
Serving food you'll love till 9 p.m. daily in Sara's Kitchen. And there's free admission entertainment every weekend.
Broadcasting throughout the Northwest and across the world online. This is Highland Radio. Your voice, your station.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good evening, I'm Tina Gates. Donald Trump says he expects to sign an agreement soon on a minerals deal with Ukraine. It comes as talks between the US and Russia come to a close in Saudi Arabia. He's reiterated a suggestion that American firms own Ukrainian power plants to deter further Russian aggression, and says he's discussing the idea with Kiev.
Territory right now, we're talking about lines of demarcation. We're talking plant ownership. Some people are saying the United States should own the power plant and then work it that way because we have the expertise to fix it up, etc., etc.
Israel has continued its attacks on Gaza. At least 61 people have been killed in strikes across the Strip in the last 24 hours. The United Nations is set to reduce its presence there after a number of staff were killed since Israel resumed fighting. Meanwhile, a surgeon living in Ireland, Dr. Mahmoud Abu Mazouk, whose brother was killed last year, received more harrowing news from